Hi friends, blood vessels. We started the circulatory system in humans, and so I thought I'd just do a quick one on the major blood vessels. As you probably know, there are three types of blood vessels. There's the arteries, capillaries, and veins. And here's a great example of some veins, some pretty big veins. And here's a nice cartoon picture with the veins. Remember, they bring blood back to the heart. Arteries take blood away from the heart. And the capillaries is really nitty-gritty where remember you have like 50,000 miles of capillaries where there's exchange in and out of the blood vessels. So first start real quickly with the arteries. Here's a nice little diagram of showing some of the major arteries in your body. The one that we'll talk about here is the aorta, which then branches down and goes to all parts of your body. And here's this really cool diagram showing the carotid artery, which goes off the aorta and up to your brain and feeds your brain. And this is from Potty Works, which was in Philadelphia a while back. And some of you I know saw this, where they took cadaver and they, in this case, they injected their blood vessels with a plastic polymer, and it's solidified, and then they kind of melted off everything else, and what was left was this kind of showing the blood vessels, and also you can see the breasts, the sternum, and all these the ribs. The key thing with the arteries, it starts with an A, goes away from the heart. So that's a good way to remember that. And here are a couple of the arteries. Here's the aorta again, and these would be the pulmonary arteries, which we'll be talking about. And then there's also some coronary arteries, which bring the blood right back to the heart. And here again is the body work showing that same idea of the heart, that fist-sized shape. Now, because it's coming right off the heart, there's a lot of pressure because that ventricles are squishing together and forcing a lot of blood out, and therefore the structure has to be very adapted for that. In this case, it's pretty thick-walled and it's very elastic, so it allows for that pulse. Because when you do feel your pulse, what you're feeling is the blood coursing through, pulsing through your arteries. Veins bring blood back to the heart. And here shows some of the major veins, and this one right here where the arrow is pointing is the vena cava, and here's another vena cava on top here, the two that you'll need to know. But they bring all the blood back. Now because it's coming back, there's very, very little pressure. In fact, by the time it almost gets to the heart, it's almost a negative pressure. A good analogy would be that when you put a hose on a faucet, when it's coming out of the faucet, it's coming out really fast, but by the time it gets to the end of the hose, it's slowed down considerably, much less pressure. Same thing in your body. So how does that blood get back? Well, it gets back with the use of valves in the veins. And V for valves, V for veins, good way to remember that. And so that every time you move around, you kind of squish these vessels together and forces the blood in one way. And I should say it's a one-way valve. And here's a nice little diagram of the valve. And here's a cartoon picture. And here, comparing an artery with a vein, you see the thick-walled artery, and there, right there in the middle there, is one of those valves in the vein. This diagram actually probably does the best job of showing it, so that if this is muscles, when you're just kind of relaxed and they aren't contracted or squishing anything, your vessel's open. But when you move your arm or legs, you kind of force that vessel together and force the blood in one direction. It can't go this way, but it can go that way. So when people say get up and going and get your circulation moving, there's truth to that. And the last piece, of course, is the capillaries. And the capillaries are the nitty-gritty. This is where materials enter and leave the blood. And they're very, very thin-walled. In fact, they're so thin-walled, you can see from this diagram, that it's an advantage because, again, this is where materials enter and leave. Things like oxygen, carbon dioxide, all your nutrients from digestion, waste, hormones, you name it, every cell needs to receive things and get rid of things, and it does so through the capillaries. And one last time, here's this nice little picture of showing all three vessels, the veins, the arterioles, and the capillaries here. And this venial and this arteriole is just a fancy way of saying I'm a small vein or small artery, but you don't need to know that. Done.